Commander Jake Morrison walked slowly across the metal bridge of the ESS Thunderstrike. His boots made quiet sounds on the floor as he moved toward the huge window that showed space outside. The ship was so big that he could not see both ends of it from where he stood. It was almost 2 kilometers long and covered with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Jake had been waiting for this day for 5 years. 5 long years since the aliens first came to Earth and told humans they were nothing special. The Zephyrian Empire had arrived in their shiny ships and looked down at Earth like it was just another rock in space. They spoke to world leaders like adults talking to small children. The aliens had offered Earth a simple choice: join their empire as a slave race and do what they were told, or be destroyed. Most alien species in the galaxy had made the same choice when the Zephyrians came to their worlds. They gave up their freedom and became servants to keep their people alive. But humans were different. Earth said no. Jake remembered watching the news broadcasts when President Karen Foster stood in front of the United Nations and gave her answer to the alien empire. She looked straight into the camera and said that humanity would never bow to anyone. The Zephyrian ambassador had laughed at her words. He told her that humans were too weak and stupid to fight against the might of his empire. That was their first mistake. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker climbed up from the lower levels of the ship to join Jake on the bridge. Her hair was messy, and her uniform had oil stains on it. She had been working for 18 hours straight to make sure every system on the Thunderstrike was perfect. Her team of engineers had spent 3 years building the ship's power core, and today they would finally test it. "The fusion reactor is ready, Commander," Lisa said as she wiped sweat from her face. "Power output is showing numbers we have never seen before. This thing could power a small city." Jake nodded and smiled. The reactor was not just human technology. When the Zephyrians had laughed at Earth's refusal to surrender, they had made their second mistake. They left behind some of their technology. When they departed, thinking humans were too primitive to understand it, Earth's scientists had spent years taking apart alien devices and learning how they worked. The Thunderstrike's reactor combined human engineering with alien power crystals. The result was something that neither species could have built alone. It produced more energy than any known ship in the galaxy, and that energy powered weapons that could cut through alien armor like paper. Captain Amy Rodriguez entered the bridge wearing her crisp military uniform. She had been chosen to command the Thunderstrike because she was the best tactical officer Earth had ever produced. She had studied every battle the aliens had ever fought and found weaknesses in their strategies that they did not even know existed. "Status." "Report," Amy said as she took her place in the captain's chair. "All systems are green," Lisa replied. "Weapons are charged and ready. Shields are at maximum power. The crew is at battle stations." Amy looked at the tactical display that showed the space around their ship. The Thunderstrike was alone in the darkness between Earth and Mars, far from any civilian ships or space stations. If something went wrong during their test, no innocent people would be hurt. Admiral Henry Cole appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth's military command center. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, but his voice was strong and determined. He had been planning this moment since the day the aliens first threatened Earth. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity," the Admiral said. "For too long, we have been seen as weak and backward by the other species in the galaxy. Today, we show them what humans are really capable of when we put our minds to something." Jake thought about all the work that had gone into building the Thunderstrike. Thousands of people had labored in secret facilities across Earth's solar system. They had worked in asteroid mines and hidden bases on distant moons. Every person involved knew that humanity's survival depended on their success. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology. They had scanned Earth cities and military bases with their advanced sensors. What they saw was a species that had barely learned to travel between planets. They did not know about the secret construction yards or the weapons research that had been hidden from their view. Lieutenant Ben Hayes sat at the weapons control station, his fingers dancing over the controls. He had trained for months to operate the Thunderstrike's main guns. Each weapon was more powerful than the largest bombs Earth had ever built. The ship carried enough firepower to level continents. "Weapons ready, Captain," Ben reported. "All targeting systems are online." Amy nodded and turned to Jake. "Commander, signal the test targets. Begin the demonstration." In the distance, several old cargo ships floated in space. They had been reinforced with the strongest armor Earth could produce, then covered with captured alien shield generators. The combination made them nearly indestructible by conventional weapons. Nearly. "Fire!" Amy commanded. The Thunderstrike's main guns spoke with a voice like thunder. Beams of pure energy reached across space in an instant. The first target ship simply vanished, turned to vapor by the incredible heat. The second target lasted a few seconds longer before its shields failed and it exploded in a ball of fire. The bridge, every person watched in amazement. They had built something incredible, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens had dismissed humanity as too primitive to be a threat. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. Jake felt a mixture of pride and sadness as he watched the demonstration. Pride because humanity had achieved something remarkable, and sadness because he knew what was coming next. The galaxy would not welcome Earth's rise to power. There would be war, and many people on both sides would die before it was over. But humanity had no choice. The aliens would never accept Earth as an equal. They would keep coming back with threats and demands until humans either submitted or were destroyed. The Thunderstrike was Earth's way of saying that neither option was acceptable. Captain Rodriguez stood up from her chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were preparing for war. They would come to Earth with hundreds of ships, expecting to crush human resistance with overwhelming force. They would find the Thunderstrike and her sister ships waiting for them. The battle for humanity's freedom was about to begin. The Thunderstrike moved through space like a metal mountain floating among the stars. Captain Amy Rodriguez sat in her command chair, watching the navigation display show their position near the edge of human territory. They had been patrolling this area for 3 days, waiting for something to happen. Today, something finally did. "Captain, we have incoming ships," called out Lieutenant Sarah Blake from the sensor station. 3 vessels approaching from the direction of Zephyrian space. They looked like heavy cruisers. Amy felt her heart beat faster. This was what they had been preparing for. The first real test of the Thunderstrike against actual alien warships. She had studied the technical specifications of Zephyrian cruisers for months, memorizing their weapons, shields, and weak points. "Sound general quarters," Amy ordered. "All hands to battle stations." Alarms began ringing throughout the massive ship. Crew members ran to their positions, sealing blast doors and charging weapon systems. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Lisa Parker watched her displays carefully, making sure the fusion reactor was running at peak efficiency. Commander Jake Morrison stood beside Amy's chair, looking at the tactical screen. The 3 alien ships were getting closer, moving in a perfect triangle formation. They were beautiful vessels, with curved hulls that looked like they had been grown rather than built. But Jake knew that beneath their elegant appearance, they carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. "They are sending us a message," reported Communications Officer Danny Walsh. "Audio only, no video." "Put it through," Amy said. A cold, mechanical voice filled the bridge. The alien spoke perfect English, but his tone made it clear that he considered. humans to be inferior creatures. Human vessel. This is Fleet Commander Zekthu of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. You are trespassing in space that belongs to the Empire. Surrender your ship immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your crew will be taken prisoner, and your primitive technology will be studied. Amy looked at Jake, who nodded slightly. They had expected this kind of arrogance from the aliens. The Zephyrians had conquered dozens of worlds by intimidating their enemies before any real fighting began. Most species gave up when faced with superior numbers and technology. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Earthship Thunderstrike, Amy replied into the communication system. We are in human space, operating under the authority of the Earth Defense Force. You are the ones who are trespassing here. Leave immediately, or face the consequences. There was silence for several seconds. Then the alien commander began laughing, a harsh sound that made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. You cannot be serious, Zekthu said. Your entire planet could not build one ship to match our smallest patrol vessel. We have conquered civilizations that were exploring space when your species was still living in caves. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Amy felt anger building inside her chest, but she kept her voice calm and steady. Last warning. Leave our space, or we will remove you by force. The alien ships suddenly changed course, spreading out to surround the Thunderstrike. Their weapons began charging, energy readings spiking on the human sensors. Zekthu had made his choice. They are targeting our engine section, reported Lieutenant Blake. Multiple weapon locks detected. Shields up, Amy commanded. Ben, charge the main guns. Target the lead cruiser. Lieutenant Ben Hayes worked quickly. At his weapons console, the Thunderstrike's massive plasma cannons began drawing power from the fusion reactor. Energy levels climbed higher and higher, reaching numbers that would have been impossible with purely human technology. Firing solution locked in, Ben announced. Main guns ready. The alien ships opened fire first. Brilliant blue beams of energy struck the Thunderstrike's shields, creating ripples of light across the barrier. The ship shook slightly, but the defensive systems held firm. The aliens had expected their weapons to punch through human defenses, like they were made of paper. Instead, the Thunderstrike's shields adapted to the energy frequency of the alien weapons. The adaptive technology, reverse-engineered from captured Zephyrian equipment, analyzed each incoming shot and adjusted the shield harmonics to provide maximum protection. Shields at 95%, Lisa reported from engineering. The adaptive systems are working perfectly. Their weapons are barely scratching us. Amy smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn that humans were very good at taking their enemies' advantages and turning them into weaknesses. Return fire, she ordered. Show them what real weapons look like. The Thunderstrike's main guns fired with a sound, like rolling thunder. Twin beams of superheated plasma crossed the distance between the ships in less than a second. The first shot struck the lead Zephyrian cruiser directly in its forward section. The result was spectacular. The alien ship's shields collapsed instantly under the massive energy assault. The plasma beam continued through the hull, melting metal and destroying internal systems. Secondary explosions began rippling through the vessel as its power core overloaded. On the bridge of his flagship, Fleet Commander Zekthu stared in shock at his sensor readings. The human weapon had delivered more raw energy than should have been physically possible. His ship was dying around him, emergency lights flashing as life support systems failed. Impossible, he whispered. No primitive species could build such weapons. The Thunderstrike's second shot targeted the cruiser on the left. This time, Ben aimed for the engine section. The plasma beam sliced through the alien hull like a knife through soft metal. The ship's fusion reactor went critical, creating a brief new star in the darkness of space The third Zephyrian vessel tried to escape, its captain finally understanding that this was not a battle his ships could win. But the Thunderstrike was faster than it looked. Captain Rodriguez ordered pursuit, and the human Star Destroyer caught up with the fleeing cruiser within minutes. "Disable their engines," Amy commanded. "I want prisoners." Ben adjusted his targeting and fired a controlled burst at the alien ship's propulsion system. The cruiser went dead in space, powerless and helpless. Emergency pods began launching from its hull as the crew abandoned ship in panic. Amy opened a communications channel to the disabled vessel. "Alien ship, this is Captain Rodriguez. Your commander is dead and your escorts are destroyed. You have two choices. Surrender and live, or we will finish what your fleet commander started." The response came quickly, the alien voice shaking with fear. "We surrender. Please do not fire. We are powering down all weapon systems." Jake walked over to the communication station. "Tell them to prepare to be boarded, and make sure they understand that any attempt to resist will result in the immediate destruction of their ship." As the Thunderstrike security teams prepared to board the captured alien vessel, Amy looked out at the wreckage floating in space. Two of the most advanced warships in the Zephyrian fleet had been destroyed in less than 10 minutes. The third had surrendered without putting up any real fight. News of this battle would spread quickly through the galaxy. Every alien species would soon know that humanity was no longer helpless prey waiting to be conquered. Earth had teeth, and they were sharp. Admiral Henry Cole stood in the command center, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching dozens of screens that showed the movement of alien fleets across the galaxy. The news of the Thunderstrike's victory had spread faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the battle, every major power in the galaxy knew that humanity had destroyed 2 Zephyrian cruisers and captured a third. The response was exactly what Henry had feared it would be. The 3 great powers of the galaxy were putting aside centuries of rivalry and mistrust to form an alliance against Earth. Hundreds of warships were already moving toward human space from all directions. "Sir, we have confirmation from our deep space sensors," reported Intelligence Officer Kate Murphy. "The Zephyrian Empire is sending their second battle fleet, 200 ships, including their flagship dreadnought Eternal Glory. The Crystalline Confederation is mobilizing their war crystals, and the Void Seekers are bringing their shadow fleets out of deep space." Henry nodded grimly. He had hoped that humanity's show of strength would convince the aliens to negotiate. Instead, it had convinced them that Earth was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. They were coming with everything they had. "What about our own fleet status?" Henry asked. "The Vengeance will be ready for combat in 72 hours, Kate replied. "Engineering teams are working around the clock. The Retribution is still 3 weeks away from completion." Henry felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Earth had exactly 1 operational Star Destroyer to face an armada of hundreds of alien ships. The odds were not good, but humanity had always been at its best when facing impossible situations. On the bridge of the ESS Vengeance, Captain Alex Turner supervised the final preparations for his ship's first combat mission. The Vengeance was even more advanced than the Thunderstrike, incorporating lessons learned from the first Star Destroyer's construction. Her weapons were more powerful, her shields stronger, and her engines faster. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker had worked herself to exhaustion, getting the Vengeance ready ahead of schedule. She moved between control panels, checking every system personally. The ship's fusion reactor was a masterpiece of human engineering, capable of powering weapons that could crack planets. "All systems show green across the board," Lisa reported to Captain Turner. "Stealth generators are operating at full efficiency. The enemy will not be able to track us until we want them to." The Vengeance's stealth technology was another human innovation that the aliens had not expected. By studying captured Void Seeker cloaking devices, Earth scientists had created something even better. The ship could become almost invisible to sensors, allowing it to strike without warning. Captain Turner studied the tactical display showing alien fleet movements. The enemy was being careful, keeping their ships in tight formations and avoiding areas where they might be ambushed. But their caution was also their weakness. Large fleets moved slowly and needed constant supplies of fuel and ammunition. "Signal the thunderstrike," Turner ordered. "Tell Captain Rodriguez that we are ready to begin Operation Phantom Strike." The plan was simple but dangerous. The two star destroyers would use hit-and-run tactics to attack alien supply lines and isolated ship groups. They would strike hard and fast, then disappear before the main enemy fleets could respond. The goal was to weaken the invasion force before it reached Earth. Lieutenant Commander Susan Wright worked from a hidden intelligence station on the Moon, coordinating with spy networks throughout the galaxy. Her job was to find ways to turn the alien alliance against itself. The three powers had never worked together before, and their cooperation was fragile. "The Zephyrians are demanding overall command of the Alliance fleet," Susan reported to Admiral Cole. "The Crystalline Confederation refuses to take orders from anyone outside their own species. The Void Seekers want to use terror tactics that the other two consider dishonorable." "Can we exploit these differences?" Henry asked. "Already working on it," Susan replied with a smile. "I have operatives spreading rumors that each faction is planning to betray the others after Earth is defeated. The Zephyrians think the Crystallines want to claim human territory for themselves. The Crystallines believe the Void Seekers are planning to enslave the survivors." Meanwhile, the Vengeance had reached its first target, a Zephyrian supply convoy carrying ammunition and fuel to the invasion fleet. The convoy consisted of 12 cargo ships, protected by 4 escort vessels. They thought they were safe in the deep space between star systems. Captain Turner watched the enemy ships through the Vengeance's stealth sensors. The aliens had no idea that death was floating silently just a few kilometers away. Their escorts were scanning space lazily, not expecting any threat this far from human territory. "Target the escort ships first," Turner ordered. "We need to eliminate their ability to call for help." The Vengeance's weapons fired from stealth, plasma beams reaching out to destroy all 4 escort ships in seconds. The cargo vessels found themselves alone and defenseless, their crews panicking as they realized they were under attack by an invisible enemy. "This is Captain Turner of the Earth Defense Force," Turner announced over the radio. "Your military escorts are destroyed. Surrender immediately, and your crews will be spared." The cargo ships surrendered without resistance. Their captains had no desire to die protecting supplies that would be used to attack Earth. The Vengeance's boarding parties took control of the vessels and sent them toward human space under prize crews. The attack on the supply convoy was just the beginning. Over the next week, the Thunderstrike and Vengeance struck at enemy forces across a dozen star systems. They destroyed fuel depots, captured ammunition ships, and eliminated scout vessels before they could report back to the main fleets. Each successful raid damaged alien morale and strained their alliance. The Zephyrian commanders began accusing their allies of providing inadequate protection for supply lines. The Crystalline Confederation demanded that the Void Seekers share their stealth technology to counter human tactics. The Void Seekers refused, claiming that their secrets were too valuable to trust outsiders. Captain Amy Rodriguez stood on the Thunderstrike's bridge, studying reports from the latest intelligence-gathering mission. The enemy was finally beginning to understand that this would not be an easy conquest. Their fleets were spreading out to protect supply lines, weakening their concentrated strength. "The alien alliance is starting to fracture," she reported to Admiral Cole. "Their commanders are more concerned with protecting their own forces than supporting the overall mission. Some ships are already withdrawing to defend their home territories." But Henry knew that the real test was still coming. Despite their losses and internal conflicts, the alien alliance still had hundreds of ships approaching Earth. The hit-and-run tactics had bought time and weakened the enemy, but they had not prevented the invasion. "Recall both Star Destroyers to Earth orbit," Henry ordered. "Phase 2 of our defense begins now. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity's home." The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The alien fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a plague of metal locusts blocking out the stars. Admiral Henry Cole watched from the command center as his sensors counted the enemy ships. 437 vessels, of various sizes, from massive dreadnoughts to swift attack cruisers. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. But what the aliens saw waiting for them was beyond their worst nightmares. 7 Star Destroyers hung in perfect formation between Earth and the approaching fleet. The Thunderstrike. And vengeance had been joined by 5 more ships: the Defiance, the Liberty, the Courage, the Honor, and the Victory. Each one was a mountain of metal and weapons that could level continents. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison, recently promoted to overall command of Earth's space forces, stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike. He looked out at the approaching enemy and felt no fear, only determination. These aliens had come to destroy his home and enslave his people. Today they would learn why that was the worst mistake they had ever made. "Incoming transmission from the alien fleet," reported Communications Officer Danny Walsh. "They want to talk." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing 3 alien faces. The Zephyrian fleet marshal looked like a giant insect with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. The crystalline war leader appeared to be made of living glass that shifted colors as he spoke. The Void Seeker Shadow Admiral was barely visible, his form seeming to bend light around itself. "Humans," the Zephyrian spoke first, his voice full of contempt. "You have caused enough trouble. We offer you one final chance to surrender. Give up now, and we will allow your species to live as slaves. Refuse, and we will turn your planet into a dead rock floating in space." Jake looked at his fellow officers and saw the same anger in their eyes that burned in his own heart. These creatures had traveled across the galaxy to threaten Earth's children, to destroy everything humanity had built. Their arrogance was beyond belief. "This is Fleet Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," Jake replied calmly. "You came to our home uninvited. You threatened our families. You demanded our surrender. Today you learn why. That was a mistake you will never have the chance to repeat." The alien commanders looked at each other, confused by the humans' confidence. The crystalline war leader stepped forward, his body flashing with angry red light. "You have 7 ships against our 400, he said. "Your mathematics must be as primitive as your technology. We will crush you like insects." Jake smiled coldly. "You are welcome to try." The transmission ended, and both fleets prepared for battle. The aliens spread out in a massive formation, trying to surround the human ships. Their strategy was simple: use overwhelming numbers to destroy the star. Destroyers from all directions at once. Captain Amy Rodriguez commanded the Thunderstrike's weapons as the enemy fleet approached. She had studied every battle these aliens had ever fought, as she knew their weaknesses. They relied on superior numbers and technology, but they had never faced an enemy that could match their firepower. "All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Morrison," Jake announced over the fleet communications. "Remember your training. These aliens think they can intimidate us with numbers. Show them what human courage looks like." The alien fleet opened fire first, thousands of energy beams reaching across space toward the 7 Star Destroyers. The space between the fleets lit up like a deadly rainbow as weapons of every type and color streaked through the darkness. The Star Destroyers' shields absorbed The massive bombardment, their adaptive systems analyzing and countering each type of weapon. The barriers flickered and rippled, but held firm against the incredible assault. The aliens had expected their combined firepower to overwhelm any defense. Instead, the human ships returned fire with weapons that defied belief. The thunder strikes. Main guns spoke with voices like thunder, each shot destroying multiple enemy vessels. The Vengeance's plasma cannons carved through alien formations like swords through paper. The other Star Destroyers added their own devastating firepower to the battle. Captain Alex Turner watched from the Vengeance's bridge as his ship's weapons turned a Zephyrian dreadnought into expanding gas and debris. The alien flagship, which had conquered a dozen worlds, simply ceased to exist under the concentrated fire of human plasma cannons. Direct hit on the enemy command ship, reported Weapons Officer Ben Hayes. The Zephyrian Fleet Marshal is dead. The death of their supreme commander sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Ships that had been advancing in perfect formation began to scatter as individual captains tried to save their own vessels. The careful coordination that had made the Alliance fleet so dangerous started to break down. On the bridge of a crystalline war vessel, Captain Zethkar watched in horror as human weapons destroyed his allies with terrifying efficiency. His people had never known defeat in battle, but these humans fought with a fury that seemed to come from their very souls. Our shields cannot stop their weapons, his tactical officer reported. They are cutting through our defenses like they do not exist. Zethkar tried to order a retreat, but it was too late. The Liberty's guns found his ship and reduced it to glowing fragments in seconds. The crystalline war leader died without ever understanding how his superior technology had been defeated by primitive humans. The Void Seeker, Shadow Admiral, attempted to use his people's stealth technology to escape the battle, but the human ships tracked him effortlessly. The Honor's targeting systems, enhanced with captured alien sensors, locked onto the fleeing vessel despite its cloaking devices. "You cannot hide from us," Captain Lisa Parker announced over the radio as her ship's weapons charged. "We learned your tricks and made them better." The Shadow Admiral's ship exploded in a burst of dark energy, taking with it the last of the Alien Alliance's senior commanders. Without leadership, the enemy fleet began to fall apart completely. Admiral Henry Cole watched the battle from Earth's command center, amazed by what he was seeing. The alien fleet that had seemed unstoppable was being destroyed by 7 human ships. The Star Destroyers moved through the enemy formation like sharks among minnows, their weapons finding targets with every shot. "Alien fleet is in full retreat," reported Intelligence Officer Kate Murphy. "Surviving ships are fleeing in all directions. The Alliance is broken." The battle that had been expected to last hours was over in less than 90 minutes. Of the 437 alien ships that had come to destroy Earth, fewer than 50 survived to escape. The rest were nothing but wreckage floating in space, testimony to the price of threatening humanity. Fleet Admiral Morrison looked out at the debris field that had once been the galaxy's greatest military force. The aliens had come expecting easy victory against a primitive species. Instead, they had found warriors who would never surrender and weapons that could destroy anything in their path. Within days, news of the battle reached every corner of the galaxy. The 3 great powers that had dominated space for millennia were broken, their fleets scattered, and their leaders dead. The balance of power had shifted forever. The Galactic Council, which had ignored Earth's requests for recognition, now sent urgent messages requesting peace negotiations. Species that had looked down on humanity as inferior now spoke of Earth with respect and fear. Jake Morrison stood on the Thunderstrike's bridge, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed so distant. Humanity had earned its place among them, through courage, determination, and the willingness to fight for what was right. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.